There was an old hotel on the outskirts of town, long abandoned and forgotten by most. It had been closed for decades after a series of unexplained disappearances. But there were still whispers in the town about Room 13, a place no one dared to speak of directly. Lena was a thrill seeker, always chasing haunted places and ghost stories. When she heard about the hotel, she knew she had to go. The locals warned her, told her to stay far away from Room 13, but Lena wasn't one to believe in ghost tales. She shrugged off their warnings, thinking it was just superstition. One rainy afternoon, Lena arrived at the hotel. The building loomed over her, its windows dark and shattered, the doors creaking as they swung in the wind. Inside, the air was musty, and the floors groaned under her weight. The silence was eerie, as though the walls held their breath. Determined, she found the staircase and climbed to the second floor, where the infamous Room 13 was located. As she approached the door, a strange coldness washed over her. The number 13 on the door was barely visible, the paint peeling and faded. Her hand trembled slightly as she reached for the doorknob, but she pushed the feeling aside and turned it. The door creaked open, revealing a room covered in dust and cobwebs. At first glance, it seemed like any other abandoned hotel room. But then Lena noticed something odd. A large, ornate mirror stood against the wall, completely untouched by time. It was spotless, its surface gleaming in the dim light. Drawn to it, she stepped closer. As Lena stood before the mirror, her reflection stared back at her. But something was off. Her reflection wasn't moving in sync. Lena blinked, and her reflection didn't. Her breath caught in her throat. She moved her hand slightly, and the reflection delayed by a second, then followed, its movement stiff and unnatural. Suddenly, the reflection smiled, a twisted, sinister grin that Lena herself wasn't making. A chill ran down her spine. She stepped back, her heart pounding, but the reflection didn't follow. Instead, it stepped forward closer to the glass, its smile widening. The room around Lena seemed to grow darker, the shadows creeping toward her. Frozen in fear, she watched as the reflection raised its hand and placed it against the inside of the glass, as though trying to push through. The surface of the mirror rippled like water. Lena gasped, stumbling backward, but it was too late. The reflection's hand broke through the glass, reaching for her. Lena turned to run, but she felt an icy grip on her arm. The reflection was pulling her toward the mirror, its eyes gleaming with malevolence. She struggled, screaming, but her voice was swallowed by the oppressive silence of the room. Inch by inch, she was dragged closer to the glass until her face was inches away from the surface. With one final, desperate cry, Lena was pulled into the mirror, her body vanishing into the cold, reflective surface. The room fell silent once again, the mirror perfectly still. Moments later, Lena's reflection appeared in the mirror, standing calmly, its face emotionless. It turned and walked away, leaving the room empty once more. The next morning, when a group of curious ghost hunters entered the hotel, they found Room 13 undisturbed, the dust thick on the floor. But in the corner, they found a large, spotless mirror. One by one, they stood in front of it, unaware that in the reflection, something was watching them closely, waiting. Hope you enjoyed that eerie tale.